So the question is, what is AI? And AI is a philosophy and an approach to change, whether it's at the organizational level, team level, or individual level, that enables people to tap into their existing and perhaps latent strengths as well as their aspirations, and in fact realize their fullest potential, again, at whichever level of system. Our traditional approach, which is embedded in our culture and our education system, is to be problem-centered. We've all grown up learning that the Holy Grail is to be a good problem solver, and if that's the case, we are then looking for the problems. And when we ask people on a day-to-day basis, of what gets more airtime, both mentally as well as in terms of your conversations with other people, what's working or what's not working, the answer is almost overwhelmingly what's not working, and that being the thing that gets most people's attention. I will then ask them, and what is the impact of that? What is the effect of focusing predominantly on what's wrong and what's missing or what needs to be fixed? What's the effect of that on your capacity, on your emotion, on your health, on your relationships? And the response is, well, it's an energy drain, makes me feel hopeless, makes me feel angry, occasionally it sort of galvanizes me into action, but it rarely is generative in the sense of being something that triggers enthusiasm, excitement, innovation, and commitment to move forward. The shift in using appreciative inquiry, it is still the action research model. It still is a process of assessment and discovery, of analysis, of thoughtful, rigorous consideration of the best way forward, but it is fundamentally antithetical to being problem-centric. It's more fun, it's more energizing, and it builds agreement among a group of people on what they care about, what their best contribution can be, what their greatest efficiencies can be. So in that sense, it's quite different. It has revolutionized the way I do this work, and I've been doing it now for more than 30 years. It is also a flexible approach. It is not a hammer, therefore everything is a nail, and that's why I say it's a philosophy. Because based on those philosophical principles, you can adapt its use to whatever the needs of the specific organization may be. So we use it in strategic planning, we use it in executive coaching, we use it in team building, we use it even in specific ways. One summit meeting with a large power company, in which we did a series of summit meetings for several hundred people, was focused on how to really move their safety program to the next level. And this is in an industry where people die if they don't use the safety well. So it can be very targeted and applied very creatively and innovatively. You also asked what are some of the common misperceptions about appreciative inquiry. And I think there are many. One is that it avoids problems. And quite the opposite. Indeed, it solves problems far more effectively than our traditional approach in my experience, but it does it in a rather different way. So that, for example, if you are experiencing a problem with the production line, let's say, rather than say, well, what went wrong and whose fault was it, which tends to have people dig in their heels and slip into blaming and judging, the question is, when it was working really well, do we remember that time? And what enabled it to really work well so that we can capitalize upon that? Occasionally, there will come a time when you do need to go back and say, well, given that it's worked well all along, what do we need to understand and know about why it didn't work this time so that we can wrap that into the vision that we're creating of the future, of what it is we want to create. Once you've got that shared agreement on the vision of what you want to create, then you get very specific in terms of your planning about what's it going to take to move from here to there based on the strengths that you've got. And the result of that is generally very energized groups who take initiative, take independent action, take collective action to move forward rather than having people assigned another 20 things to do on their to-do list that they're not too keen on doing. And because they've come up with those ideas on their own. So the one misconception is that it doesn't solve problems or that it avoids problems. Quite the contrary. It does not, however, start by digging up the problem. So that's one misconception. Another is, unfortunately, some people say, well, I asked an appreciative question, and they will say they are doing appreciative inquiry. And that's the start. But that is not the whole deal at all. So let's see, what are the misconceptions? I think those are the two biggest ones, perhaps. Another is that it's a soft process, that it's all a touchy-feely process. I would say that if you are aiming for high achievement in any organization, whether it's a nonprofit, for-profit, industry. We do this work in hospital systems, pharmaceutical companies, manufacturing organizations, a lot of international development agencies. You're going to achieve far more if the people in your organization care about what they're doing, are committed to what they're doing, have had a voice in shaping where you're going and how you get there. And they feel then an energized part of a team doing worthwhile work. And I found that whether it's people who are manufacturing razor blades, they care about doing it well. Most of us want, given half a chance, to do something that we think is worthwhile and to do that job well. And giving people a voice in that, where they're not just one person trying to push the boulder of their idea up the hill, but collectively. It's about dialogue. It's about orchestrating a series of conversations that enable an individual, a team, or a whole organization to capture the best of what they do, what they care about most, the best contribution they can make, which is usually also the way they will also make most revenue if they're a financial, revenue-generating business. To do that in a way that those conversations create in people's minds the image of what they want to achieve and then the means by which they want to get from here to there. So in this day and age, there are no leaders that I know of, given the level of complexity and the rate of change and the rate of demand for change, there is no leader who can have their finger on the pulse of all the variables that go into the considerations for their organization, as well as the fact that the further away you get from where the real action is, the people on the line or the front lines, information gets lost as it travels up the chain of command, and often the innovations come from all over the organization. And given the opportunity to give voice to those innovations, have them refined, shared, heard among a really diverse group of people, the better innovation you're going to come up with, and the more energized is the action then to pursue those possibilities. So AI does solve problems. It by no means avoids them, but it sure does not start in that place. But it empowers people in a way that taps into the whole person, not only their intellect, their training, and their expertise, but their motivation, their sense of satisfaction, their sense of commitment, and also their sense of belonging to a group of people who are doing something they care about. That's a nutshell about AI.